I remember Buick Electra 225 rolling down Bloomfield Avenue. And then my father would put me on his lap. How illegal was that, right? Steve Adubato, you remember those days, man?
Oh, I sure do. A lot of stuff was illegal.
Yeah, but remember, my parents would put us on my father, I was in Rutherford down Orient Way, where the relatives were, Steve Adubato, and then my daddy would put me on the lap of the Studebaker. We had a Studebaker, for crying out loud. You're too young for that, Steve. But I remember riding, and then the cop pulled us over and said, you're not supposed to do that. My father got upset. Hey, I'm just teaching the kid to drive, You could get away.
Joe, my wife got upset because I put our 10-year-old, because down the driveway, I said, listen, I'm going to show you how to, take the car down the driveway. She goes, what are you doing? I said, I'm not on the street.
Yeah. I know. I do that, though. Now, it's so funny, Steve. I got my Alexandra's 15 now, if you could believe that, man.
Right.
And so I let her drive. I got it. And you go in the passenger seat. You let her drive. That's freaky, man. It's letting the kids drive as they grow up like that. Steve Adubato on the radio, ladies and gentlemen. Always appreciated you. PBS anchor.
By the way, the show just gets better and better. Best in the morning, Joe.
Oh, you're the best, Steve. You know what? I appreciate it, man. We're having fun with it and taking it very seriously and feeling our way through it. And our audience is growing with us, and we appreciate you being on here. And hey, Steve, you going to Yogi's Carmen Barra's funeral today for Yogi? And I know a lot of us. I know our dear friend Nicky Greco's he's a lawyer. He's in a deposition. A lot of folks can't go. Are you going to be able to go? Or are you
one of those? Joe, we're taping our one-on-one show. I hate to even say this when we're talking about Carmen.
Yeah.
We're taping our one-on-one show at Lincoln Center today, all day. It's one of those things where everyone's locked in, and I just am not able to do it.
You know what?
I'm feeling terrible about it.
But, Steve, it's a family thing. I'm feeling a lot. As a matter of fact, I feel maybe I shouldn't even go over because they let it be known that it's a family thing. So it's a quiet little family thing, so maybe it's all for the best. Hey, if I may ask, on the one-on-one, did our friend from the Bronx call you? Are you set with that by chance?
We are set, not for this particular time. We're going to get him next time. Right. I like when you say our friend from the Bronx because I know exactly who you're talking about. And I'm looking forward to that. And it would not be possible if my friend from the Caldwells hadn't worked that out.
Yeah, we're talking about Chaz Palminteri is going to do an interview with
Good
Steve.
Good thing you cleared that up, Joe.
Yeah, I want to make sure. I want to see that Steve Adubato with Chaz Palminteri. That was great when we were at the Hall of Fame and that Chaz came over. What a he's like the Bronx Tale guy, and he's an imposing, true vision of a true film star when Chaz walks into a room, right, Steve? It just has that presence.
I'll tell you, Joe, I want to tell your audience, we just finished, when Joe got inducted into the New Jersey Hall of Fame that night with some other terrific people, we wound up doing a half-hour special, mostly because Joe was getting inducted into the Hall of Fame. And we decided, so we edited this thing together. Chaz Palminteri's introduction of Joe that night was fabulous. Joe's speech that night. So in the next couple of weeks, it's going to, because they're putting the final touches on it. The bottom line is that half hour is going to air on PBS, and I want to make sure I tell Frank Morano about that so that your morning audience and everyone at 970 can know about it on PBS when it airs.
We always watch you, Steve. We know you. We love you.
No, that's about you guys. That's the Hall of Fame. That's going to be a great night.
Well, listen, let's go to politics, Steve, because you're so locked into that.
Was anything happening?
I said, man, you know what? And we love. Look, the Ledger. They've taken shots at me, but they've always been relatively objective. But they are just going after Governor Christie, the Newark Star Ledger. Now, the front page today, the polls say the state losing faith in the governor. I'm not feeling that from the people. I think he's just bypassing Bridgegate. But although they won't seem to let this Bridgegate thing die, Steve Adubato.
Well, Joe, I mean, those polls, let's be straight up here. Those polls, I happen to agree that the Ledger, in my opinion, I write for the Ledger every Sunday. I don't write about politics. I write about business. But they've been on this issue. The Record, not just them, the Record newspaper has been on this issue. And in some ways it's their job. But there are other folks like MSNBC. To me, it's a vocation. It's what they do every day. And a whole bunch of other things could be going on, and it's Christiegate in their minds all day, all night. That's their job. But these polls, listen, the governor wakes up. The governor, if in fact he still reads the Star Ledger anymore, there's no way he's pleased by those numbers because those are not the Star Ledger polls. Those are other polls. And the bottom line, Joe, is after a lot of that media coverage, after a lot of this drumbeat day after day of who's not going to testify, who's taking the fifth as part of the governor's team, in the end, you got to say that while the governor's stepping up and the governor's not backing down, the governor's giving town meetings, and he's handling things, in my opinion, the best he can, that a fair number of people are saying, I'm questioning his trustworthiness. Now, me, I still feel he can get through this, but he is not the brand, if you will, that he was a couple months ago. And he would tell you that, Joe.
Yeah.
He would tell you that he is not where he was. But that does not mean that he can't get back to a certain place.
Well,
where you are today is not where you're going to be long term.
Yeah, he looked good at CPAC. You see him at that conservative conference, though? I thought he was great at that big conference down there.
But that's not an easy crowd for him.
Yeah,
I mean, that's not his natural crowd. They didn't even invite him last year.
Right, remember that? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, listen, let's not kid ourselves. This is like you won the Super Bowl the year before because Christie, he won the Super Bowl. When he won that election, you're talking about a guy in a blue state, Democratic state, wins by 22% of the vote. It's unheard of. Blows everyone away. And then 2 weeks later, after you win the Super Bowl, all of a sudden you lose like your entire starting line.
Yeah, man.
You lose your quarterback.
Yeah,
he's not where he was. But the point is, he's one of those guys. He's a Jersey guy that doesn't quit. But at the same time, this investigation has to play itself out. And it's not like you can say, "Okay, can we get this thing over with? Because I want to get my game back in, game plan back, so I can play again." Yeah. They're going to play this thing out because listen, he knows better than anyone. Joe, former U.S. attorney. They don't work fast. Yeah,
it's true. It's Steve Adubato on the phone with us at AM970. The Answer 644 with Piscopo in the morning. As Steve, wild about that Rachel Canning, the girl, the Jersey girl from Morris County who sues her parents. Is that a wild story or what, man?
Yeah, it is. And the worst part about it, I mean, as parents, we look at it and we try to say, "Oh my God, what would I do?" But at the same time, like, we're not there. We don't really know what's really going on. And again, the media coverage, you can understand how salacious it is. And again, if you're there and you're a friend and you want to be helpful, do you step in? Do you not step in?
Yeah.
It's easy to Monday morning quarterback that situation.
I heard there's a lot on the other side that we have yet to hear. That's what I'm standing by for.
And you and I heard it from the same mutual friend who's got good information. But the problem is people who say they know say they can't go on the air and talk about it right now. But here's my gut. After this thing gets quote-unquote settled out of court, because I think that's the way it's going to happen, then all those people who say they know are going to say, well, this is what was really going on.
Yeah.
But right now, I don't think that's going to happen.
Steve, you're the best. I'm going to let you go, but I have to ask you about, in the New Jersey State Senate, there was an attempted coup to overthrow Tom Kean Jr., who we love. We love Tom Kean Jr. as minority leader. Now Tom Kean is fighting back. Why were they trying to get rid of Tom Kean Jr.? What's going on?
Yes. Yeah. What did he do? Well, the two different things. Listen, bottom line is, Tom Kean Jr. ran a campaign, and they didn't pick up any seats in the Senate. And after the governor and some Republicans said, listen, we're going to take Tom Kean out, and Tom Kean Jr. said, well, I got some calls to make. And he got some Republicans to hold strong. And the guy that I respect a lot, I like a lot, Senator Kevin O'Toole, he was the guy that ran against him. Kean stepped up, won the election, and Kean said, listen, now I'm going to go Jersey on you. The guys who came after me, I'm taking you out in the majority positions in the Republican. Joe, you're laughing because it's true.
That's right, baby.
And so Kevin O'Toole lost his position. Senator Kip Bateman lost his position.
Wow.
And so then they turn around and say, Tom, why can't we be friends? He said, we'll be friends after I take you out.
It was Barzini all along.
It was Barzini all along, because apparently over the weekend, Tom Kean Jr. had to watch The Godfather, and that's the way he interpreted it, Joe.
You love it. True Jersey politics. Steve Adubato. Steve, we're looking for you. What you want? Give us a quick plug on when you're up next and what we could look for.
We're on every night on One-on-One on NJTV at 7 o'clock, and at WNET, the PBS flagship, after Charlie Rose and Tavis Smiley every night.
Beautiful.
People stay up early. I know you don't. 12:30 a.m. on WNET Channel 13.
Steve Adubato, we love you, man. We'll see you soon, Stephen.
Thanks, Joe. You're the best.
God bless. AM 970, The Answer.